Hello and welcome to this tutorial about the S3 TDC model in UBOAT. Now, if you haven't seen it yet, I have a TDC tutorial video which I posted maybe a month and a half ago, where I explain how to use the C37 version of the German TDC. This is a more advanced one, but in many ways it's very similar to the previous one. In many ways it's not. In order to fully understand how this TDC operates, I highly recommend you to go see that video first. The link is going to be in the description. The S3 version of the TDC is present in the Type 7C and Type 7C41 U-boats. It's a much more advanced piece of equipment than the old computer. The main difference, if you are going to explain in broad strokes which each one of the TDCs is, the main difference between both is that the C37 version is an aiming device. You feed it with information, you give it information about speed, range, angle on bow, etc. And the computer will give you a solution to fire a torpedo and hit the target. The S3 TDC is more of a tracking device, whereas the C37 version will give you a snapshot, or in other words, a current solution that will allow you to impact the enemy. The S3 version is going to constantly and upon time change a solution so you can actually hit the target. It's going to calculate parameters like the enemy movement, your own submarine movement. It's going to update them, and using them is going to give you a solution which is going to be adequate through time. In the C37 version, if you feed the computer with data, the solution that you are given is going to be valid for that moment and that moment only. If you don't shoot and you wait and you let time pass, then the enemy ship is going to have moved after a while, and your own submarine is going to have moved after a while. In the S3 version, that doesn't happen because, again, the solution is calculated upon time. The computer calculates and tracks the movement of the target, but also tracks your own submarine movement. What does this mean? This means that if you change the speed of your submarine, if you change the course of your submarine, if you, in whatever way, move your submarine from the point where you calculated initially the solution, the torpedo data computer will integrate all that movement into the calculations and will give you a solution that is going to be valid. In a C37, if you calculate a solution and you move your submarine drastically, the solution is not going to work any longer. Of course, all this means that this computer that you are seeing watching right now is a lot more advanced than the previous one. It's a lot more flexible and allows for much more advanced tactics. With this version, it's much easier to track multiple different targets within a convoy because of the single reason that they are all sharing the same speed and heading data. All that changes is the range, and all that changes is the bearing. And with this, if you are tracking one enemy ship and you fire at it, you can immediately retarget another one. Most of what you already have in here is already valid. You only have to change range to fire torpedoes. Now I'm going to give an explanation of what each of these dials and tabs, everything does. I'm not going to explain how to operate the TDC because I already did it. And you also have a lot of career videos where I play with this TDC and the previous one to see how to achieve a proper working solution. The first dial that you can see is the dial that gives you the predicted impact angle. This is informative only. You don't need to change anything with this dial. And what it says and tells you is which is the angle the torpedoes are going to be at when they impact on the enemy warship. Of course, this is good to predict whether your impact is going to be in a 90-degree angle, more like 100, etc. Remember that the best way to attack a target is to shoot it at an impact angle as close to 90 as possible. Next in line, you have the speed dial. Here is where you introduce manually, if you want to do so, the speed of the target that you are currently tracking. Inside, there is the torpedo speed. Torpedo setting is controlled from here, and you can see in there the different speeds that the TDC allows for calculating a solution. Of course, that's only for the steam torpedoes. Electrics can go further than 30 knots. A very important thing to remember in this TDC and the previous one, I already mentioned in the other video, but I will do it again. If you are going to change the torpedo speed, do it the first thing of all. I mean, first put the torpedo speed that you want, and then go on to calculate the solution. If you do it the other way, if you put all the parameters here and then change the torpedo, the solution is not going to work properly. This is because of how this TDC operates and is historical. I mean, things were that way. Next, you have the parallax correction. This is the correction that the TDC has to take in account to account for the fact that you are taking measurements from the periscope while you are shooting from the bow or the stern, depending on bow torpedoes or stern torpedoes. You can click on this and you can change the data. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's not necessary. The TDC does it automatically for you, and it does it perfectly well. Next in line is the parallax mode, forward or backwards. This, of course, is giving the TDC the information of where you are going to be shooting from. In forward, of course, is the bow torpedoes. In backward is the aft torpedoes. Next in line is the node that changes target bearing. Very easy, just click and drag to change manually the bearing of the target. This, of course, will only be useful if you don't have a tracking device. More on that later. Now here you have the bearing information. Where is the target? This can be operated in either automatic mode with the TDC tracking the bearing from the periscope or the UZO, or if this lever is disabled and this light is on, then it's purely manual. You tell the TDC where the enemy is. For instance, let's say that this is 45 degrees. So I come here and I tell him that it's at 45. Now, of course, as I said, the lever is very important. You can see bearing tracking is currently disabled, and it's possible to use the bearing node to set the bearing manually. Well, that's for pre-aimed shots. If you want to use the TDC at full operational capability, and I highly recommend you do so, you just enable the lever and the system will automatically track the target. Now, you see, there are two important things in each one of these, let's say, clocks, dials. There's the red square. That's where the enemy is located according to the information that is fed into the TDC. And the arrow is where is the scope and the UZO looking at. Of course, this arrow is only important if you have this in manual because, yep, it doesn't change. You can see the UZO and the periscope are still looking this way, but you can introduce the bearing that you want. But as soon as you link them again, it's going to take a while, but the bearing is going to synchronize with the periscope and the UZO. The next is the predicted gyro angle. This is where the computer is telling you how much of a gyro angle is going to introduce in the torpedoes in order to hit the target. It's highly desirable that this is as close as zero as possible. This is a dial that is informative. You can't change it at all. The attack that you are making, you want to put yourself in a position where this gyro angle is going to be zero. The snob is the distance to target. Very easy to understand. It's just telling the TDC how far is the target. Next, the torpedo range snob. This is purely for visual. This is going to be working with this light here. This light is the one that tells you that the torpedo is not going to hit the target with the given solution if you fire at this moment. You can put it at whatever range you want. This is pretty much for information purposes. It doesn't change anything. I never touch it, and you don't have to either. The red light here, if this goes on, that means that if you shoot at a torpedo right now, at a target right now, the torpedo, for whatever reason, is not going to be able to hit it. Maybe the target is too far. Maybe the target is in a bearing that requires a gyro angle that the torpedo can't reach. For whatever reason, if this is on, the torpedo won't hit. Now here is the stored course delta. This is one of the key parts of the S3, and what it does is, well, it's an automatic. This is for show. Again, this has no functionality for actually calculating solution. This is why the S3 can track your own submarine movement. Remember, at the time of firing a solution, you have to keep the target position in mind, the target movement in mind, and your own submarine position in mind, and your own submarine movement in time. Well, the torpedo data computer integrates all that information, and this dial is part of it. Next, there's the angle and bow. Well, no need to say a lot, because at this rate you already know what an angle and bow is, right? Target length, this is now that chooses the size of the target in order for the TDC to give you an angle spread for a salvo setting. Next in line is the salvo spread. The salvo spread is the angle that your torpedo data computer will give your torpedo salvo in order to cover the target from bow to stern at the range you have fed it with. This is mostly an automatic calculation, but you can effect it manually. For instance, if you have a target that is at 1,000 meters or so, and that's 140 meters in length, the TDC will tell you, hey, well, in order to hit a target of that size at that range, you're going to need a salvo spread of 1.3 degrees. Well, if you want, you may be thinking, well, this is too big. Well, you can make it smaller by reducing the target length a little bit, and you can see the salvo spread is smaller. Then again, you might say, I'm not very confident in my solution. I want a larger spread to guarantee at least one hit. Well, then what you do is to make it bigger, maybe 180, and then the salvo spread is bigger. This is a way to change this salvo spread. There's another one which is manual. We are going to explain it in a very small time. Next is the angular speed. Well, this tab allows you to define the angular speed of your submarine. I mean, if your submarine is not in a steady line and is not going directly forwards or backwards, well, there's going to be a displacement that the torpedo data computer has to adjust for in order to have a proper solution. This dial allows you to shoot while turning. But why do you want to do it? I mean, you can do it, but honestly, I never do it. I never use this tab, but it's there if you want to use it. That's all I'm going to say. Now down here, you have several tabs. One of them is the angle and bow changer. You can change it from down here as much as you can change it from up here. Next is the angle and bow tracking. Angle and bow tracking is the ability of the TDC to recalculate the angle and bow as you turn your periscope to track a target. Leave it on. Never change it. There's no reason why to change it. The next in line is the salvo spread. Now this is what gives you the ability to change the salvo spread of a target, but you will see that if you change it, it will slowly return to the pre-calculated number that the TDC has calculated for you. Well, there's a way to go around it, and it's here. Here you have the salvo spread angle motor. It's enabled. This means that whatever you change here is going to return to the calculated setting. If you want to do it manually, click it, put it in disabled, and then whatever change you make to your salvo spread is going to remain there. If you want the TDC to take over again, click it again, and there you go. Pretty easy. I usually don't use salvos, but when I do, I usually go with the automatic setting. But if you want to have full control, you can do it from this tab and this tab. And finally, the angle and bow motor is enabled. Again, this is related to the ability of the TDC to change angle and bow while you are tracking a target and moving the periscope to track it. Leave it in. leave it on. There's no reason to put it in disabled. Just leave it on. And yeah, well, that's it for the Torpedo data computer. I mean, you can see there are, in a lot of ways, is similar to the C37, but in the functionality it's really, really different. It's much more advanced, it's much more flexible, and it gives you the chance to change from target to target when attacking a convoy in seconds. If you have followed my career, particularly so the last videos when I was aboard the Type 7C, you will notice the huge difference it makes from the older version to this one. It's a magnificent, magnificent piece of kit. And yeah, that's a huge reason to update to a Type 7C from previous versions, because yeah, that's when you get this computer. Historically, this was introduced in very late 1940, and well, it became pretty much commonplace from 1941 onwards. And yeah, that's going to be it for this video, guys. If you have any questions, if you want to ask anything related to this video or otherwise, please make it so in the comment section below. If you like this video, please give me the thumbs up. Really, the YouTube algorithm is effing me in the after on my anatomy. So whatever help I get from you guys to for YouTube to further promote my content is really appreciated. If you want to support this channel, you can do so by becoming a member in YouTube or by supporting me through Patreon. As always, guys, thank you very much for watching, and see you later.